That's what they really want, but they don't tell you that because that's want is really a need. And so you have to be armed with the information to go with it.
Hey, Dave, glad to have you with me today.
Well, I'm glad to be with you today. At my age, I'm glad to be someplace every day.
Yeah, I know we were talking, I guess it was probably a week or two ago, and you said you're 92, is that
Yeah, I
right?
was 92 this year, exactly,
92.
and I'm thinking of becoming a Boy Scout if they'll take me. But I am not. I never apologize for my age. I work every day. I have a health style that beguiles people, and the mental acuity. I study every day. We run a large business, and we're anxious all the time to get positivity into there. So part of it starts with me being positive about what I do and say. But it also takes me back to the fact that I've been in the business, as most of your people are in, for probably 65 or 70 years of those years.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have this conversation is I think you got a wealth of knowledge that you can share. And I'm curious, just take us back to the beginning a little bit. Like, how did you get into this industry that we're all in?
By accident, not on purpose. This would not have been my first choice. I'm a veteran of World War II, and I enlisted with a. I was underage. I was 15. I went in, competed in the war. The war ended. I came back because I had left during high school. I didn't have a high school diploma, so I went back to school, got a GED. They had just introduced it at that time. Then I did my undergraduate at Temple University at night, and then I got out and I thought, hey, the world is waiting for me. I'm a college graduate, right? There, and we were in a recession at the time, bad recession after World War II. So I took the first job I could get. And the job was with a company, the first real job. I had done some other things, but the first real job was a company that was a division of Reynolds Metals. Now,
Hmm.
they were anxious to get into the building material industry, and I went to work for them. And they put me in the division that sold directly to the consumer. And
So
the
you had to figure out sales quick then, huh?
well, the first thing they took you knocked on doors. And now, if anybody's ever canvassed, they had to solicit business that way. I dislike doing that. Not right away. It took me about 8 minutes to know that that is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. But I built a great career. They had 72 offices. I became a sales trainer, a assistant sales manager, a sales manager, and I became assistant to the vice president in charge of sales back when I was about 26 or 27 years of age. It moved very quickly. And I left to form my own business. So I formed the own business in 57. And I had a business partner. He had an office one place, I had another. And we eventually built it into the largest home improvement company at the time. We were doing $60 million a year when we sold our interest in the early 70s. That'd be equivalent to 250, 300 million today. And we did it, and we were essentially in the roofing business, but we had a coating. We owned a coating manufacturer, and we did coating on cementitious surfaces and stucco and special shingles and things like that. And so we built it. We had 147 salespeople, and we did 60 million dollars. But a lot of business. If a guy did $1 million in those days, that was a big company.
Yeah.
Average company did a couple 100,000, and if a salesman sold $100,000 worth of business, he was a hot shot.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
and
but
that's, go ahead.
I've never regretted it. Now I look back and I think, hey, it's a great business. It's 325 billion a day, and yeah, I think it's a great business to be in.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's funny, as with all of our journeys, sometimes we choose it and sometimes we don't, but you end up somewhere and you go, yeah, that I guess that happened for a reason, like you said, looking back, you said, well, I wouldn't have changed it. I'm kind of curious to dig into the sales side of things. It sounds like you started door to door, but then, quickly accelerated. Did you just learn on the fly, or, how did you move into sales training? Where
Oh, well, that's a because that's what I preach today. I was fortunate to go to work for a company that had what they call a structured presentation method.
Mm.
Now, the difference between structured and unstructured is that people don't go to college and say, teach me to be a salesperson. They'll hear about sales techniques or sales models, but they don't really understand the fundamentals of selling. And so we worked for a company that put this in separate segments. Here you do this first, this success, the next this and that this, and then here's how to present the product. So they taught all those things. Now they weren't perfectionists, but they were on the right path. And actually, that's my foundation is systemic selling methodologies. And I introduced to this industry in probably 1961, 1962, methods called step selling. And it puts it into steps or what have you. We had 500 salespeople in that company. And very, very competitive within the organization. So they would have inter-office collaborations. Two offices, one in New Jersey, one in Pennsylvania, would meet each other. And we used to get there and do a lot of role playing. So it was really great. It was a great foundation for me. I had a good education preceding that. I was very mature, having been in the service earlier, but it showed me a path of action, and that didn't exist today, and seldom in many organizations does it exist now.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of people who are listening to this that I believe, Spencer, will say, yeah, but I don't want to be a salesman. I don't like salespeople. But the truth is, there has to be a sales premonition. There has to be a sales system, or otherwise you're going to miss a lot of business that you'll wish you have. Now, today in my world, we've represented professional organizations like the Practicing Law Institute, and we've done presentations for the Optometrists Association, professional people, and dentists. And all of them are in the profession. They don't want to be salespeople, but they have to use certain sales premises. That's what step selling is all about. And understanding the phenomena of the way the customer thinks rather than the way you think and you feel.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, because a lot of, I mean, you said it, a lot of business owners, they get into the craft and they don't look at themselves as salespeople, even though that's the lifeblood of their business and moving it forward. But having a process, I think, allows a lot of people that don't think of themselves as salespeople to execute well in that role. I know I definitely fit that bill early on. As I'm traditionally very introverted, had to work really hard to kind of break out of that shell, and I didn't ever think of myself as a salesperson. But if you have a process and some steps, then you can go through that. I'm curious, you work with a lot of companies, and help them with improve their sales processes. What are some common mistakes that you see organizations making when it comes to sales?
So this program is going to be on for 6 hours.
Exactly.
Joke,
We've
joke.
got 6 more hours here.
Yeah.
So start with one, and we can go to 100.
Well, I don't like the word mistakes. And the reason I don't like the word mistakes is you cannot know what you do not know. And you're fundamentally educated in a sophisticated environment, the school system, the specialized courses, extended education, college, whatever that might be. But there has to also be an understanding of the people you're working for and with, and that's your customer. And your customer thinks, feels, and acts in a certain way that always isn't their best interest. Now, there won't be a guy listening to this, a guy or gal listening to us that doesn't say, yeah, but people want all this, and they don't want to pay enough money for it. They want the cheapest thing. That's got nothing to do with them. That's got to do with you. If that's their fundamental thinking, then what can you do to ameliorate that or change that. And so if, I hear the people, you have to sell the want, you have to sell the need. Now, I took advanced courses in clinical psychology, and there's a great difference between the word want and the word need. They both have 4 letters, vast difference. So if you said the average person calls you on the phone and said, I want an estimate I'd like to come look at my project. First thing that you have to think about is what do they want as soon as possible? And you're not going to like this. They want a price as soon as possible. And the minute you succumb to that, you do them a disservice. Because until you can establish in their project why they're doing that project, what drives them to give it, what gives them the impetus to do that, you can't position your project. I don't care whether you're selling total remodeling or you're roofing or HVAC systems or plumbing, any one of a number of things. When you're doing those things, the customer has some ideas about what they would like to have. One is a price as soon as possible. So the people listening to this, you're going to make a choice. Do you want to sell at the lowest price? Oh, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. They're the people that ruin my business. Well, they're ruining your business because you let them ruin your business. Because the customer not buying on price, that's not the truth most of the time. It has to do with value. And value means, is what you are presenting being fitted to what they expressed when you talk to them early about why they want to do this? And then you build your presentation to meet that. Now, that's a step. But it all goes before that. I mean, most of the people you have on here may answer their phones wrong to begin with. It's out of sync with a modern society. Good morning, XYZ Construction. How may I direct your call? Or worse, they have the automated system. If you're calling for an estimate, press 1. If you have a repair, press 2. If you're waiting for delivery, the customer called with an intent and purpose, and the first thing to do is affirm them for that. And if you pick nothing else from that, affirmation. Thank you for calling XYZ Construction. How may I direct your call? That's the voice. Thank you is an affirmation for calling XYZ. I don't care where you are, you think it's all down home folks and they want to talk. Yeah, good morning. This is Charlie at ABC Construction. How can we help you today? We'd like an estimate. Good, that's no problem. Now we're backed up in our business. No, none of that plays. You're scripted. Thank you for calling today. What did you specifically had in mind? And then if you are interviewing those people that call, there should be 5 questions you want answered to their benefit, not yours. And say, first of all, let's do this properly. Give me the correct spelling of your name so I don't mispronounce it. Mr. Bukaris. And spell it for me, please. Bukar. Yes, Bukaris. That's pretty it. Am I saying it correctly? All right, Mr. Bukaris, what is your exact address? And you take the exact address. And then they say, incidentally, what is your phone number? They give you the phone number. Is that a landline or is that a cell? Oh, that's our landline. Let me have your cell as well. And listen, if you have to ever get back to these people and they're not going to answer the phone because they didn't see your name before, you want to establish why you're calling them back and you have their cell, and then get their email. Because our system says, and we got a lot of things we'll offer the people on the phone here for free. They can go and listen to our podcast. Text. When you can't get them to respond to email, text, T-E-X-T. So that's the fundamental to start with. The next fundamental is you are a stranger going to see a stranger about something the stranger wants and desires, and you would like to perform the services for that and make the adequate profit. That's all easy to say, but you're working at opposite to begin with. You're antagonist. So if you ever went shopping, are you married?
I am, yeah.
Okay. You go shopping with your wife. And when you go shopping with your wife And you get in the store, women know how to shop, men don't know anything about shopping.
Agreed. Totally
So,
agreed.
so the women's going to shop, and she's looking at the
I'm good at sitting on the chair.
uh,
I'm the fastest one to find the seat in the store.
okay.
So,
But here's a good example, because that is traditional. Now the woman spies something that she's interested in, and she's up at a rack looking at clothing, and a sales clerk comes over. What do they normally say to you in the store?
oh gosh, they usually just say, "How can I help you?" Or "Are you
Okay,
looking for
stop
something
there.
specific?"
No, they'll
Okay.
say, may I help you? Can I help you? And 85% of the time, the answer is no thanks. I'm just
Nope.
looking. Well, the reason for that is you're working against each other, and neither of you is telling the truth. You came there with a purpose. Now, if that woman said to your wife, excuse me, is this for you? Is it for a gift for someone else? And your wife says, no, that's for me. What is your dress size? A 6. Oh, well, you're not, this is not the size. So let me show you something. Over here, we have 3 departments, and one of them has a sale on right now. But are you looking for something for the summer, or for now, or is it to go to a special occasion? And she'll tell you. Now, what you've done is ask 3 or 4 questions that were important to her, not important to you. Don't send her over there to the sales area because she doesn't know what she's looking for. Help her. Now, you said, may I help you? You really want to help you? Learn to ask the questions. Here's why it won't work. You know why it won't work? If you've never done it, the first time you try it, it'll come out the, that's, so all good things are rehearsed. I've made over 5,000 speeches all over the world, every state in the United States. They didn't hire me simply because I'm good looking, although for
Although
my
you're looking pretty sharp today, so
but they hired me because I reach people. I reach people by talking at their level, not mine. Talk about things that they need to know, whether they like it or not, but tell them in a way that is not patently offensive. So when you get to the house, let's say you're traditional, you get into a traditional call, you got a husband and wife, and they're calling you for a remodeling job or for a roofing job, window siding, whatever that might be. They have an idea what they want. And they today, unlike it was when I was in the business, they get more information now than ever before. And what they don't get from Home Depot or Lowe's, or what doesn't come in just between their programs they're watching, the advertising, they go online and you can find out anything you want today. If you're putting roof, yeah, they'll show you 17 grades of roofing and 18 colors that go with the grades, and it should cost so much a square. The roofer has what is the thing? The sky, the thing that takes the pictures from the
oh
sky.
yeah, the
I forget what
drone.
it's called. Huh?
Yeah, the drone.
Yeah, and they take the picture from the sky. They can tell the squareage of your roof. None of that is important. You think it is. None is that important, but the beginning, the beginning, why did they call? If you're a roofer, get up inside their attic and look at the roof. If you're selling waterproofing, go down in the basement and see where the issue is. And don't tell them what it is, ask them. If you're selling replacement windows, why did you go? Well, we have 3 windows we really need a problem with. Why? Well, one is hard to open. Would you mind showing me that window? We go to the window. Instead of opening for the people, say, would you mind opening the window? And the minute they bring that window up, or they show you what's wrong with it, they get a motor message in their own mind. They remember how difficult that was. If their roof leaks and you're on a sunny day, they say, well, it's not leaking now. Whoa, that's interesting. It's not raining, so it's not leaking. So if you go up in the attic and you have something like a moisture meter, or you go up in the attic with a flashlight and you see stains on the rafters, or you see the insulation has stains on it because somewhere it leaked, or you check around the chimney and you find out later that the flashing on the chimney might be bad. That's what they really want, but they don't tell you that because that's want is really a need. And so you have to be armed with the information to go with it. Now, I think I'm telling you too much. It's maybe more than you want to hear at this point. So I don't want to make a speech. Well,
No,
I
no,
just,
this is exactly what I wanted to talk about, because I think it was one of your YouTube videos that kind of talks about this want versus need. And it's really interesting to hear you kind of break down that, because everyone thinks, yeah, oh yeah, I'm researching a certain product or I need this replacement. But to your point, what they're really looking for is a resolution to something, and so you're trying to dig and ask the right questions. And I like your point too about having them open the window or, actually be physically involved and kind of repeating that issue again for themselves, to, I guess, bring out a little more of the pain and connect the dots there. Are these the kind of things that you recommend people do to build the value into the sale? Because we're kind of going back to earlier, we talked about price. We don't want to sell on price. What else should we know about adding value into the sales process?
well, you have to sit down and make a list of what you do, and you're going to miss some important stuff. But you make this as a part of your you don't rattle off all these things. You make it a part of your presentation. I'll give you a simple example. If you bring someone to your house, if you're a homeowner and bring someone to your house, how do you know that person has workers' compensation insurance?
It's a good question.
So if you ask them, they're going to say, I have it. But that doesn't mean they have it. In some states, it's required to be on a contract form. And I wrote a book on this. One of the books was called Why Buy Replacement Windows. I wrote another one called Above All, You Need a Great Roof. And in that, they were books for consumers. Now, the consumer doesn't realize the importance of workers' compensation insurance. Because they have a homeowner's policy, they think that's all taken care of. It's specifically exempted. So if I'm selling to you and I have a pad in front of me and say, all right, now, how long do you intend to live in this house? Oh, right now, 10 years. And so what would you like this project to look like now and 10 years later? Because 10 years later, when you go to sell it, you don't want it to look like it's got to be done over. Is that important to you? Yes. And so when the work is being done, what kind of protections do you see are important? Some states it requires a license, but if there's required a license, it'll be at the top of your contract that you're licensed and the license number is there. An easy contact phone number. The guy that doesn't have a license and doesn't have a pad with his phone number on can spell Trubbele there, trouble, put trouble. So now we present this to the people and say workers' compensation protects you as a homeowner. And then the other thing is if we have construction equipment here and a neighbor's pet or a neighbor trips over that equipment, is there insurance for that? So that's all included in our price. The other point is if you ever have a problem, you don't know when you have a problem. You could have a bad hailstorm could destroy something on the exterior of your house, including your electrical system, whatever that might be. Now you want to find us. We should be easy to get to. So we have call service 24 hours a day when you call, right? Now, if you're a small company, you say, and yeah, this is a small business. So my wife's the bookkeeper. I'm the head guy. I do part of the projects, the estimates, and then I am also the project manager. So when you call, it's either going to be her, me, or it's going to be our voicemail. In any case, we'll get back to you as promptly as possible. Now, you don't tell that in a rattled form. You tell that in the early stages. We call it a company story. Now, company stories, I've seen them, the guys have them today. We used to have them on presentation books. Today, they're on a screen, a video screen or a computer screen, and you're showing it to the people. And those should be stylized to talk about the people in their home. So if you go online or the stuff you saw online to find out
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about what we do, these people can all go online. You'll tell them how to go online to get all this stuff free. Now, free has nothing to do whether you'll use it or not. I mean, do you have anyone do you have a friend that's overweight?
For sure.
Ask him
Yeah.
sometime. Have you ever been on a diet? What do you think the answer will be?
For sure. They've been on a
Okay,
diet several
you tell
times.
them, yeah, that's right. No, nobody is ever on a diet. We've been on diets, and the weight goes up and the weight goes down. That didn't solve a problem. And the same thing, bringing people into the home. Everybody is going to tell you they're the greatest, the smartest. They use the best material, and that may not be the truth. I don't mean they're lying. They're looking for the easiest way. They're saying, what will the other guy be bidding? Do I have to be under the other guy? Well, the people who are in the market to buy a Cadillac don't think they're going to get the same price as the people who bought a Chevy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But the Cadillac today is not only for super wealthy people. It can be a long-term investment with some high-quality things and some safety things in there, or the SUV you drive. That's special. Well, your home is the same thing. And if I say to you, so how long are you going to be in the home? And the guy says, well, I'm going to be in here for, the kids get out of college. So my oldest is 16 right now. So you're probably looking 8 years from now, right? That's what he says now. Now he wants the cheapest roof. And if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, we'll say, I don't care how good the roof is, if the interior of the attic is not ventilated properly, you're baking the shingles, you're cooking the shingles, and you get an 8 or 9 year life. If you have a windstorm or a rainstorm, you won't get too much snow in Phoenix, but that would be true in Massachusetts. So how are you prepared for that? Do you want the roof that you have on to weather that? And that is where you get into, and listen, for the people in the roofing business, roofers do dumb stuff. I'll tell you what, do you know much about construction?
I know a little bit. You know
Okay,
a lot
here's
more.
what dumb stuff is. You get a roof for great people, and you weave the shingles in the valleys as a way of weaving. You know what that means?
Hmm.
It should have an underliner. It costs you more to get an underliner because if the water backs up in there, or if someone goes on the roof to examine anything that might be, let's say your chimney had a problem, where do you think they walk? They walk up that valley. Go down to the edge of the roof, what we call the drip edge of the roof. And depending where you are, 18 to 24 inches is vulnerable because you can get icicles on the edge of the roof in the colder climates, and when it rains, it backs up. And when it backs up, it's got nowhere to go except onto those shingles. Now, if the shingles are sealed down, which they're supposed to be, and they're put on there, the edge of the roof should have additional coverage. It should have maybe an 18 or 36-inch starter roll. Yes, it costs you more, but you're doing the customer a favor when you use water shield or the way you treat a roof. If the roof doesn't have a ridge cut in it, and you say, yeah, get up there and check, you don't have a ridge cut. How many roofers do you think tell them that? It's going to control the life of your roof. It's going to control the ventilation. If you get a ridge cut, you have to have some vents in the soffit. I'm not, I'm not a roofer. I'm someone who deals with the way customers think and feel about their needs. And if you've been online, you see some of the stuff I do that gets people a little annoyed because they think it's sophisticated mumbo jumbo. I talk about right versus left brain selling, how that comes into being.
Yeah, yeah, and as we get into that a little bit further, I just want to hit on a couple of points there. I love the examples you use going back to the workers' comp. Just thinking about asking the right questions to the homeowner so that they're, hey, if this scenario happened, would this be important, or are you covered? And they're going, well, I don't know, or and so it raises the level of importance of those items that probably most people just breeze over because they're like, oh, this is probably table stakes. Everybody has to do these things. And so you don't look at them as maybe big selling points. But I think if you do as you're suggesting, then suddenly you're the only one talking about those things, even if your two or three competitors that the homeowner talks to is also doing them, but they won't know because they're not sharing or asking the right questions. Do you find that to be true?
Okay, well, touching on what you just said, you cannot know what you do not know. And if you think about yourself, your product, and what you can do, and that's your concentration when you go in the house, that's what you're going to talk about. That's just the
Good
way
point.
life works. Now, I want to make this point. When I talk about sales practices, I tell you now, you do not have to be a salesperson. You have to understand how the sales process works. And if that customer is saying to you, yeah, but this guy put it on for $800 less than you do, and he's told you that he's going to live in that house for another 10 years, do you know that's about $7 a month? The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is $7 a month. That's what that is. But you've got to let them tell you that first. They'll tell you, we have a price, or we were down to Home Depot and we got a price there. So selling has to be made to appeal to people. Now, here's something that everyone listening will agree to. If they trust you, if they trust that what you're saying is more about them and less about you, if you express things that show you care more about them getting what they need rather than you getting what you need. And all small contractors make the big mistake. Well, we're not the lowest. We're not the lowest, but people have always said we do quality work. Now, when I'm going to say there's nothing wrong with that, but except where you place it. And so when you get to the house, right when you get to the house, from the beginning of the project, you'll have people say to you, and by the way, we're not going to buy anything right now. We're just kind of evaluating the project. Or we're getting 3 estimates and you're the second one. Now the guy's saying, oh, what did the first guy say? What was he? But you should have in mind a quality project and a quality presentation that reaches those people as to their benefits. So get back to this trust. Are you familiar with the word rapport? R-A-P-P-O-R-T, rapport.
Yes, I am.
And I always ask people, what do you think that means? And you know what the question comes up the most time? What do you
I
think
don't.
rapport means? Trust. They'll say
Oh,
trust.
building trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said connection.
Okay, well,
Just building.
connection is good too. I'll tell you why. I hear people saying, well, you got to teach them to like you. You got to teach them that you're a likable person. No, you don't have to teach them any of those things. What you have to teach them is that you can be trusted and that what you're saying is something that is not only for them, but other people like them. So if you were to say in your opening remark, most people like yourself, the home is the largest single investment. Am I wrong? And they'll tell you, well, we have a summer home as well. Bang, oh boy, you write that down in your brain. But for
Take some
most
notes.
people, your home is your most expensive investment. Now, how do I breed trust? I want you to, instead of thinking of rapport as trust, I want you to think of it as harmony. Harmony. If I can get into your presence and say and do the things that make you believe that I am interested in you, their mind will open up and they will listen more intently. And when I get into a home and you go online and you can see all these things, you go on YouTube, we got thousands of entries on there. You can see free of charge. You don't have to pay our client services to come in here. That's why I'm doing this program. It's a public service and it's for the consumer, but it is for, you're not getting the truth. You go to seminars and you say, so what percentage of the inquiries do you sell? Well, in my case, I make it usually 90, 100%. Okay. Now, if he'll lie about that, he'll lie about some other things like what his religion is or how his, well, the truth is that's not the truth. The truth is you can only sell a certain percentage of the people that you make presentations to. But if your goal is to sell as many as possible, you'll stop thinking about what they look like. As an example, why do I have on a tie today? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'm guessing it has to do with the way you want people to remember you or think about you.
And that I have respect for them. They're taking the time to listen to this and drink it in. And I have the right to be present to them in a respectful manner. I would never go into my church without a tie. I never go visit anybody in the hospital without a tie. And I do that out of respect. Now, you don't have to wear a tie. You can take the tie off. The outfit would still look pretty good. But I want to show respect for them. And so when I go in their house, if you're a contractor type where you got on your belt, you got your tool belt, or on your belt, you got your measuring time, whatever that might be, take booties with you. You know what the booties are, to put on
Yep.
the booties. Now, the reason for that is you could say to the people, do you mind if I don't, is it okay to come here without? No, it's not okay. The minute I get in the house and I either take my shoes off and put the booties on or put the booties on over my shoes, I am teaching them that I have respect for them, and that starts to breed harmony. When I asked you in the beginning, what is the correct pronunciation of your name? How do you prefer to be called? You know, you can call me Dr. Simmons. I'm the general practitioner in this. If that's what he wants to be called, that's what I call him. I call him Doctor, Doctor, Doctor. And so harmony is based on my doing something for them while I'm making a presentation that makes them comfortable. So when I say to them, would you ever allow anybody in your home without workers' compensation or public liability insurance? What do you think the average answer is?
No.
Okay. I'm going to tell you that on a regular basis, they do business with people and they have no idea
Really?
where the workers' comp, public, they have no idea. Have a guy come to repair things. And so I'm not saying that's wrong. Some people in this business are essentially tradespeople. And as a friend of mine puts it, when you want to build your business, you want to think about, are you working in the business or are you working for the business? And they're two different things. If I'm in taking service calls, and that's my job to take a service call, and I say, what am I doing? Taking service calls. You're not performing a task that's beneficial either to your company or the person. If you're performing your service tasks or making the people comfortable, that's at the top of your thing. And you'll see online, we even suggest today everybody take a behavioral profile, a profile that determines your behavior, what you can say. You say you're introverted. I don't know who told you that. They probably don't know what they're talking about. You may be less extroverted than other people, but you wouldn't be doing it. You couldn't even speak into that microphone. Now you're comfortable speaking into the mic because you've done it before. But it's true of anyone.
Yeah, you just got to get practice and reps in, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's go back to this concept. Do they like me? Do they love me? No. Do they trust you because you have harmony? So my job is to build the bridge so that there is harmony between myself and the people who are there, the interested parties, so that they feel I can, not endless stories about this case or that case, or we used to have an old theory, they go in and pet the goldfish. Oh, I see you got a bowling trophy there, sir. You must have a bowler? Yeah, you know, I used to bowl years ago. Yeah. What, that doesn't do anything for you. And if you get young people today, well, young people, anybody younger than me is young, all right? And we don't go in, we don't talk about the same thing. Don't look for commonality. The commonality that exists, your home and what I can say or do to you. If I leave you with the idea that you never leave anyone do work on your home without workers' compensation, have I done my job? Do you trust me? But how do I present it? That's why I say go to YouTube and you'll see the way we do it. I got all kinds of. Did you see the thing on there I did for AT&T executives called "How to Buy a Car"? Or
Yeah, I
tried to buy?
did.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna actually drop that in the show notes for this. Yeah, so anybody listening, we'll put the link in the
Yeah.
notes, and
And so,
it's
listen,
awesome.
the people don't like to hear a speech. I've spoken all over the 22 foreign countries. I've spoken. You got to be talking about things that are of interest to them and wherever they are at a given time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, I've got a few more questions for you. This has been awesome, but real quick, if people want to learn more about you and your company and how you might be able to help, what's the best way to get connected or find you?
Okay, so on the other side of the screen here is one of my assistants. How do we tell them to get in touch with us? DaveYoho.com. If that's too complicated, I'll write it down. Dave
Yeah,
Yoho.
could you spell that out? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
The people
Yeah.
often say to me, how do you spell Yoho? I say, Y-O-H-O, but any way you spell it is going to sound like Yoho. If you go to DaveYoho.com, you go on our website. We get stuff in there, inexpensive things that people can get, or we got a lot of stuff for free. But here's the point. What are you investing in what do people invest in their business? Now, I've written 2 best-selling books. That's the one I told you about, best-selling books. And I did the American Booksellers Convention after I wrote my book. They wanted to have me come and speak to the people who sell books. And I tell you that most people buy a book and never read it. Did you hear what I just said? Because sitting
I
on
did. I'm
your
still
desk or
processing
their
it.
desk and everybody's desk is the round to it. You're going to get round to it. You're going to read that book eventually. And you don't have, when you read a book, force yourself to get something out of a book. When you listen to what I'm saying today, you don't have to buy into everything I say. I mean, you're going to have people who say, well, he talks pretty loud, he talks pretty fast, and I don't want to be that way. You don't have to be that way. I've trained all kinds of people. Um, in the company I ran, we trained 100,000 people, 100,000, which is that's not the people. We sell $1 million worth of a thing called the science of successful in-home selling. I don't know, it's about $130 on digital, or $170 if you buy it in a package. But here's what I'm saying to anybody. If you're not willing to invest that in your business, I understand. That's up to you. You're not going to, I don't have to worry about you buying these to get another suit or another tie. I'm telling you that the great thing that this is a great country. I'm a patriot. I think this is the greatest country in the world. And I think politicians and the press and whoever is trying to advise and guide us makes a mistake. We're not stupid people. We took
Amen.
the country, 130 million people before World War II, now 325 million people, and we are the dominant commercial country in the world. It's a big business. It's a great business. We're doing work for one of the greatest investments people have, their home. We have more homeowners in the United States than elsewhere. So go online and you see the stuff you'll get for free. Were you charged for any of the stuff you went and saw, or what have you?
No, all on YouTube. Yeah. So yeah, I would highly recommend people head over to the website, daveyoho.com. We'll put the link up, and then yeah, tons of video content on YouTube. I got through several, but there's probably hundreds there. So lots to learn. And to your point though, take a little bit of action with it.
Well, here's one thing I will tell you also. I'm an educated man, and I don't mean because of the colleges I went to. I'm an educated man because I constantly draw all the research that's out there to find out what people think and are saying. And what the press tells you, may or may not be true because the person deciding what's in the press may not know. And in one of the things you'll see online where I talk about right versus left brain selling, this is not new. I had to be certified in something called neuro-linguistic programming. You'll hear us talk about proxemics. Where's the best place to sit when you make a presentation in someone's home? The best way to phrase certain things you're going to say about things, the people, when you say. So if you listen to them and you got to get one little idea, it can help you towards your future. And
I
that's
love
what
it.
it should be.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. Well, Dave, we got one last segment of the show. We call it our Fast Five. So I'm going to hit you with 5 rapid fire questions. Just say whatever comes to mind and we'll wrap up.
Okay.
First question is, what's your favorite business book and why?
Well, probably a work like From Good to Great. If you can get that book by Collins, it's called Good to Great. Did you? You're nodding your head, so you read the book.
Yep.
And what it is, it's an analogy of companies who've done great and done well. My own book, I have a book called How to Have a Great Year Every Year. Now it's in its 3rd or 4th publishing. How to Have a Great Year Every Year, and I believe in reading today. But the short answer, get that book. Easy to read. And incidentally, if you ever have trouble reading, read the first chapter, then go to the back of the book and look in the indices or the support area and see it. On page 83, they'll talk about smiling when you sell, or they're talking about analytics or any of those things, and you'll find how they're in the book. The greatest books are done in a simple way, and they're brief. And these are not historical novels. They're written so you can pick a little thing out and then try it. And the other thing is, when you get an idea and you get it's a new idea, usually takes about 21 days to perfect that. And we talk about that. Now, you want to get sophisticated? I have a book out that's now electronic, and it's called Power Linguistics. Linguistics, language of the words that work best and the words that work least. And it's available on many, many different sources, including Amazon. You get it, or you can get it online.
Cool.
Next
Cool.
question.
Yeah, those are good ones. So next one is, who's the most inspirational person in your life?
My wife. My wife. I think I treasure my relationship with my wife. I have a very outgoing and a very aggressive personality. I married an angel, and we have a great relationship. We have 4 children, and my children are all educated. And I think they're the dominant forces in your life. Now, if you want to talk about inspirational sources, I lay that at the feet of always reading and finding the people who you like to. There's a great book called Man's Search for Meaning.
Love that one.
Know the book?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Written
Yeah.
in a concentration camp. That was written in a concentration camp. And within every book you read, you can look at the index and find reference in the bibliography about other books, right? And I am an omnivorous reader. I used to read 50 books a year. 50, I pick them up and read them. I don't read as many today. I buy a lot of other services that have white papers, 12, 14, 16, and stay abreast. And I stop. I don't listen to the news. I think it's all contrived, and
Yeah.
I've done
Put some
very well.
education in your ears instead.
Well, I've done very well in the world, and I don't mean this to be bravado. My parents never owned a home. My father never owned a car. My mother's father was functionally illiterate, couldn't read or write, my grandfather. And all these people are inspirational to me in the way they built their lives with nothing of substance. And before I was 31 years of age, I was worth over $1 million. That's because of this country and the opportunities, that can happen in this
Yeah.
country.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Dave, if you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Long life. Now listen, I'll tell you, I'm already 92. My superpower is to constantly increase my understanding of other human beings and how they think and feel, and understand that everybody, exactly where they are, is doing the very best they can. If they knew how to do better, they would do better. And my job is not to change them, but to present in their life opportunities or options that if they elect to do one or two or three of those things, it comes out better for them. And so that's my choice. I'm very active in Veterans Affairs because the group I was in that I was recruited for, there were 250,000 of us. There's less than 900 left,
Wow.
and there were 16 million veterans in uniform, and they die at the rate right now of 300 and more per day.
Wow.
And then get to know more about what your parents did and get to know about what their generation went through. And if somebody says these are tough times, ask them about the Depression when 27% of our workforce was out of business. So, and I thank God for all that and his participation in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Two more for you. Describe yourself in 3 words.
3 words. That's tough to do. Being loquacious, 3 words. Uh, well, okay. Uh, God is my moderator.
Awesome. I like it. All right. Final question for you, Dave. If you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Never stop learning. This is a great world we live in. Never stop learning. Find out the real truth. Now, just as an example, we live in a great country. And if you want to find out about the formation of the country, the great books all the time. I just finished reading one, and I have to tell you, they're long and they're prodigious, but they give you insights of what brought us to where we are. And never stop learning. And there are exciting ways to learn, but wherever you are, just by learning, you are being beneficial to society. And then I'm thankful. I want to say that I'm thankful for the people who take the time to listen to this today. I understand it's supposed to amplify me. Nothing they can do is going to upgrade my lifestyle. But the fact that they want to listen gives attribute to my search for knowledge and where I can place it.
Super cool. Super cool. Yeah, Dave, I feel like we could have gone on for hours, but I really appreciate you carving out the time and sharing your knowledge with us today.
Well, good luck and stay well. Everybody stay cautious, stay well. And I hope this is beneficial. And you'll have the access to, you can drop me an email and tell me, you can tell me your likes or dislikes. You're not going to offend me one way or the other. But I would like to hear from you from time to time.
Cool. Cool. Well, that sounds good. Well, thanks again, Dave. And thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time here on Builder Funnel Radio.